All right, let's jump right into a huge question. How do we understand, well, anything? It seems complicated, but a philosopher named Charles Peirce had this incredible idea that boils it all down to a simple rule of three.
I mean, just think about it for a second. How does a simple red light get you to slam on your brakes without anyone saying a word? Or how does the thumbs up emoji mean all good? We're just surrounded by these silent commands everywhere. It feels like magic, right? But it's not. There's actually a system behind it all, and that's what we're going to break down.
And that system? Well, it comes from an American philosopher, Charles Peirce. And his big idea was this. Meaning isn't just a simple connection between, say, a word and what it means. Nope. He said it's always this dynamic three-part dance. And that rule of three, that's going to be our guide through this whole thing.
Okay, so before we can even get to how signs work, we need to understand the world they live in. Peirce basically said that all of our experiences, everything we feel, see, and think, can be sorted into three fundamental buckets. Think of it like the basic operating system for our minds.
The first one is called, well, firstness. This is the super abstract stuff. It's the realm of pure possibility, just a raw feeling or a quality that exists all by itself. It's not attached to anything real yet. It's just potential.
So what does that even mean? Think about the color red. Not a red car or a red apple, just the idea of redness. That's firstness, or that vague feeling of pain before you figure out exactly where it's coming from. It's just a raw sensation, pure potential. It could be an emotion, a mood, a color, you get the idea.
Okay, next up is secondness. And this is where reality punches you in the face, literally. Secondness is all about action and reaction, cause and effect. It's the real world of hard facts and physical stuff happening.
So, you drop a stone. Bam! It hits the ground. That's secondness right there. One thing acting on another. Or, remember that vague feeling of pain? Well, now it's a specific throbbing toothache in your back molar. That is secondness. It's not a possibility anymore. It's a real thing happening right now.
All right, so we've got pure potential and we've got brute reality. How do we connect them? How do we make sense of it all? Well, that's where thirdness comes in. Think of thirdness as the intellectual glue. It's the rules, the habits, the laws, the system that brings the other two together.
So that stone we dropped, the actual law of gravity that explains why it falls, that's a perfect example of thirdness. It's the rule that connects the pure possibility of falling with the actual event of the stone hitting the ground. And honestly, thirdness is what makes everything, like language and logic, even possible.
Okay, quick recap to lock this in. Firstness, that raw feeling of joy, an emotional state. Secondness, the very practical event of one car actually hitting another. And thirdness, the intellectual concept, the traffic law that was broken in that crash. You see, emotional, practical, intellectual. It's a pretty cool pattern once you see it.
So now we have our operating system, firstness, secondness, and thirdness. Now let's look at the engine that actually runs on it, the thing that creates meaning. And surprise, surprise, Peirce's model for this also comes in threes.
So for Peirce, a sign isn't just a symbol and its meaning. It has three parts. First, you've got the representamen. That's just the sign itself, a word, an image, a sound. Then you have the object, which is the actual thing it's referring to. And here's the crucial part. Number three is the interpretant. This is the idea that pops into your head, the mental connection you make between the sign and the thing. And that's where meaning is actually born.
I know, this can still feel a little floaty and academic. So let's bring it right down to earth with a super simple example we all do every day. Picture this. You're done with work and you're about to shut down your computer.
So what's happening in Peirce's terms? Well, it starts with the interpretant. That's the idea in your head, time to turn this off. That thought makes you look for the representamen, which is that little power icon on your screen. You click it, and that action leads to the object, the computer actually powering down. See? Idea, sign, result. A perfect little triangle of meaning.
Okay, so let's put it all together now. We've got the three realities, and we've got the three parts of a sign. Let's see how they work together to help us make sense of absolutely everything. And here's a really cool insight from Peirce. When we encounter a sign, our brains don't pay attention to everything about it. We're super efficient. We automatically filter out the noise and zoom in on just the parts we need to understand the message.
A rose is a fantastic example of this. If someone gives you a rose to signal romance, what do you focus on? The beautiful red petals, right? The velvety texture. You're probably not thinking about the photosynthesis happening in the green leaves or the fact that the thorns could prick you. You ignore those parts because you're not relevant to the message of romance. We're constantly making these little choices to build meaning.
All right, so let's circle all the way back to that traffic light from the beginning. How does it work? Well, first, you see the glowing red circle. That physical thing, the light, the color, that's the representative. It's the sign.
The second that light hits your eyes, your brain generates an idea. And thanks to all the learned rules of driving, that's thirdness, by the way, that red light immediately triggers the concept of stop. That idea that just popped into your head, that's the interpretant. And finally, that mental command, stop, causes a real-world action. Your foot moves to the brake pedal, and the car slows down. The car actually stopping is the object. And boom, that's it. Representative, interpretant, object. That's how a simple light gets you to stop your car.
So what's the point of all this? What's the big takeaway? I mean, why does knowing this rule of three matter? Well, it can actually change the way you look at everything.
The most important thing to remember is that meaning isn't a static two-way street. It's not just a word and its definition. It's a living, breathing process, a constant flow between a sign, the thing it represents, and, most importantly, the idea that it sparks inside a mind. You need all three, always.
And that leaves us with a really powerful question to take with you. Now that you know about this three-part process, start looking around. When you see an ad or a political slogan or even just a logo, ask yourself, what's the sign? What's the real-world thing it's pointing to? And what's the specific idea they're trying to build inside my head? Because once you see it, you realize meaning isn't just something that is. It's something that is actively being built all around us and for us.